Fire Department. We are joined. Hello, everyone. This is Mayor Shawyn Patterson Howard, and we are live tonight with members of the Fire Department of Mount Vernon. We have our Commissioner Deborah Norman, our Chief K. Robert Odendo, our firefighter Dakari Maynard, and our firefighter Burgess. And we are coming to you this evening in recognition of Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week is done in association with the National Fire Protection Association and goes all the way back to 1925. So who's going to kick off this show tonight? We're going to have what, Chief Odendo, you're going to kick it off? You're muted, Chief. Unmute. There you go.
Great. Thank me start off. Mayor Patterson Howard, we appreciate another opportunity to speak to the public. So thank you for that. So we were invited on by the mayor to discuss some of our activities, some of our work around Fire Prevention Week. Even though it is a week, we like to do things big in Mount Vernon. So we in Mount Vernon Fire Department decided we're going to extend this out actually for the month. So we have a list of activities and initiatives and programs that we're looking to launch and that we will be pushing out throughout the month to commemorate, as the mayor said, the actual week and some of the points that come out of that week, and then also talk about for the rest of the month, discuss some of the safety and health benefits of having a strong fire prevention program in your community. So that in a nutshell is kind of what we're doing. And then we can get into specifics as we go out. And I just want to thank also the commissioner and also our members of the fire suppression side, Dakari Maynard, and our dispatch, our fire alarm bureau, Rolf Burgess, for the attendance tonight too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So, Commissioner Norman, you lead this incredible fire department. Do you have anything to say to start off our show tonight?
Good evening, ma'am, and members of my department. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting us again to your show. And the fire department, Mount Vernon Fire Department, has come through, like many other communities, a very tumultuous year. But we're all here. All of our members are safely back to work in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is a month nationally, all fire departments, try to recognize fire prevention awareness. And Fire Prevention Week has just occurred, but also October's National Fire Prevention Awareness Month. So on behalf of the fire department, again, I thank you for inviting us. And as some of the other members speak, I'd like to just give a little information of where we are today from January 2020 till now. Mount Vernon has had 33 structure fires. We've responded to 115 cooking fires, and we've responded thus far to 261 fires that are, whether they're rubbish, mobile trailers, car fires. So we've been pretty busy as always, and our department does a phenomenal job responding to the community, but it is also a community that, we're very active, we're very busy. And I just wanted to give those stats as of just from January till now, October. That's where we stand right now. We are moving into a season when it gets cold. People try to use alternative ways to heat. So we want to get that message out about prevention as well. And again, we're just happy to be here. Thank you, Mayor. And at this time, I'll let the chief and some others give some more information about programs that we're going to try to implement, or activities, should I say, for this month. It is challenging because normally we like to take our fire safety trailer to all the schools. As we all know, here in Mount Vernon, the children are not in the schools. And at the same time, it probably, to be preventive, we wouldn't want to have children in the safety trailer. You'd have to wipe it down, things of that nature. At the same time, we probably would be going to whether it's seniors, facilities, things of that nature. So everybody's practicing the social distancing. So it is sort of challenging on a lot of activities that we normally would do, a lot of open houses, things of that nature.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much, though, in the midst of COVID, for continuing to serve, but even more importantly, for finding innovative ways to get the message of fire prevention out to the community. So even though we're not able to do some of the traditional work, the fire department is still finding alternative methods to ensure that the community is educated and safe. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. So Chief Adendo, we're going to let you run with it from here. So this year, we know that the National Fire Protection Association deemed the theme for this fire prevention week/month is kitchen fires, serving up fire safety in the kitchen. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we're excited to have such a theme. One of the things that is immediately, and I'm going to let firefighter Dakari, and also dispatcher Burgess get into that a little bit more. But one of the things that we're excited about, unfortunately excited about, is the fact that kitchen fires are the #1 cause of injury and fire death in the home. So, the fact that this theme has been chosen for this month, and then specifically, as we think about what's going on with COVID and the fact that we have, at this time, due to modified learning, many children are home. Parents may be going to work because they need to provide financially. Children are home because of their modified learning platforms. And so that could be a recipe for disaster if we are not careful and vigilant around kitchen and cooking and those types of things. So yes, as you said, unattended cooking, the #1 issues. The NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, has, and we'll give you the website throughout and actually we may be able to put that up, but we'll give you that website throughout the broadcast. They have a laundry list of tools and handouts, printouts, videos that any person can log on to and begin to understand some of the safety issues that come specifically around that kitchen fire and those types of issues. So a lot of opportunities through that learning platform. And then we're also going to use the NFPA and other resources to go out and do our public safety and public education in the community. Specifically around kitchen cooking fires, and again, I'm going to let the firefighters and dispatchers talk about it, because one of the things that I'm really excited about is the fact that we've been able to take, even though we have COVID and some of the limitations around contact with the public, we are using social media, specifically video, to get a lot of our message across. And we've used some very talented people in our communications bureau, again, to make video, to edit, and to get this information across through social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then our city website as well. Some of the things, though, that we want to make sure that we touch on quickly are the fact that specifically around those hazards that are involved with kitchen fires. Some of the things that we want to think about, and this is right from the NFPA website, and something that we would teach if we had the fire prevention trailer out this year, which, as the commissioner spoke about, due to COVID, we can't do. But children or pets in and around a stove while parents are cooking. We understand that the kitchen can be a place that people commune and want to be communal, but we also have to think about the fact that due to the heat source that is a stove and some of the other heating sources in the kitchen, we have to be mindful of that. So the number is usually about 3 feet that they're recommending that people stay. The person that's cooking obviously would stand there, but anyone else would not be that close to the stove. Turning our pot handles away. Firefighter Dakari Maynard talked specifically about that, and actually I'll segue to him at this point and let him speak a little bit about the video and specifically about some of the issues that are addressed in that video, but pot handles being one of those big issues. So Firefighter Dakari, can you talk a little bit about the video that you guys are working on, actually that you worked on and put out? Oh, great, there's a video.
Oh, Danny, we can't hear the sound on it. Okay, and you have to unmute Dakari.
I think you're muted. You're muted.
There you go.
There
you go. You're unmuted.
There we go. Okay, guys. Thank you. I said thank you again for the mayor, the commissioner, and our chief for inviting me on. That video that you saw was just a one special way that we are trying to stay connected to our community during this very important end month and year. Although that we highlighted in this month, these are safety tips and practices that should be executed throughout the whole year with your families and your loved ones, especially the youth that's in the house. Just like your ABCs, you should learn the fire safety tips that we are going to be bringing to you all month. So, like Chief said, 3 feet distance away from the stove. That would just secure that that nobody around can get hurt or injured by fire or hot fluids or substances that you may be cooking with. In the mix of a fire on the stove top, we tell everyone to not use water. Although we, as a fire department, that's our main source of fire extinguishing. Water is not to be used on a stovetop because it produces grease, and grease and water do not mix. We ask you guys not to panic. If you need to, you can cover the pan that is on fire with a lid. What that will do is take the oxygen away from the fire. We all know if we don't, fire needs oxygen to breathe. So that would be smothering the fire. You can also sprinkle a flour base on top of the oil. That would also smother it. And again, if you're going to use a flour, it is to be sprinkled, not poured. Because if you pour it, it can push the hot liquids elsewhere. Make sure that cooking mix, paper towels, anything flammable or combustible are away from your stovetop. You should also have an acting fire alarm in your house. That is your first line of defense. It saves lives, hundreds and thousands of lives every year. That is your first sign of defense. So make sure in your household you have a smoke or carbon monoxide detector. A rule of thumb, you change your batteries on those devices every time you change your clock. So about every 6 months, make sure your battery is changed. And they have a 10-year life expectancy. But that can be faulted. So if it's acting up, read the back for directions, or you can call your neighborhood fire department like you do as well. And we'd be happy to assist you. Now that call that comes in is first directed to our dispatcher, Mr. Burgess. So I'm gonna segue him in on what calls he may receive and how he and his team handles the emergency calls received at fire dispatch.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Dakari, for inviting me to this meeting. So, 9 times out of 10, when you pick up your phone and you dial 911, you will speak to either myself or my coworkers. And a lot of time, it's especially in a fire, it's a very intense situation. People's emotions are running. You know, you try to get the fire department as out there as quickly as possible. But a lot of times there's specific information that we need. We need to know where the fire originated, what kind of fire it is, if there's anyone in the building. If there's anyone in the building, we try and get everyone out as safe as possible. It's very hard when fires happen. It's hard to stay calm. It's hard to stay focused. But a lot of times we get calls from kids, and we try to explain to them that, you know, the number one thing is to try and get out safe. Try and get everyone out of your house, your residence. If you live in an apartment building, you knock on your neighbor's doors, try to get them out as well. One of the number one things that you should do is after you evacuate is close your apartment or house door, because a lot of times that leaving your door open and there's a fire inside of your residence, that fire will come out, oxygen will feed it, and it will spread it to other residences. So the number one thing after evacuating your residence and making sure that all of your family, try not to hide anywhere, especially when we're talking with kids. Try not to hide anywhere, because it's hard to find you. If there's smoke everywhere, there's all this going on, it's hard to find you. So just try and get out, leave your toys, leave all your stuff there. All of that stuff can be replaced. Your life can't be replaced. Try and get out as soon as possible. Try and get out, try and get your family out, and just try and stay safe. That's the best I can say. We field a lot of calls. We field a lot of EMS calls. We field a lot of fire calls. And the number one thing is, just like I said, just staying safe. I'm not used to being on camera and all of this stuff. I'm used to being behind the scenes and being on the phone. But yeah, just try and stay safe. And we're working on working with the youth borough, working with Parks and Recreation, of putting a packet together and getting those out to. They have a couple events coming up. There's a movie night. There's a couple of other events, and just getting that stuff out. Being that we normally during fire, like the chief said, during Fire Prevention Week, we put the smoke trailer out, and numeracy kids comes in. We teach them what to do with the stove and what to do when a smoke detector goes off, when a carbon monoxide detector goes off. It's a little bit different in this time and age, but we still want to have Fire Prevention Week going, Fire Prevention Month, excuse me, and still teaching kids and adults the proper things to do when a fire goes on.
Thank you so much. So, I mean, that's one of the things we spoke a little bit earlier about, how many structure fires we've been having, how many kitchen fires, how many rubbish fires. But as our dispatcher Burgess just said, we also field EMS calls. So I don't know if everyone knows that that is really something. Every time there's an EMS call, there's also a fire truck dispatched at the same time. About how many calls are we up to right now this year? Commissioner Norman, we need to unmute. Danny, if you can unmute Commissioner Norman.
Do you want to answer that, Burgess, or?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
We're up to right now, from January to right now, 6,385 medical calls. And that goes from everything from medical assistant to lifts to injuries, car accidents, any kind of medical call. But we're up to 6,300, right now.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. So, Chief, can you talk to us about some of the initiatives that you're doing insofar as, I know that you still have the Edith campaign, you're launching the Close the Door campaign. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So there are a couple of initiatives that we're really, again, excited about, and I use that word a lot because I'm excited about it. So we want to make sure that we get that out to the community. The importance of safety, health and safety, and just especially again given the COVID environment that we're living in. So we have as we talked about, 3 initiatives that we're looking to launch. We're not really launching them because these are things that we've and the NFPA have put out for many years, but we just want to make sure that our community understands and embraces them. One of those things is something called EDIT. Those are exit drills in the home. It becomes really important as we, and again, especially because we spend a lot of time in the home, again, during these COVID months, that we have some sort of plan in the event of a fire to escape. As firefighter Dakari talked about, again, especially with young children, and I know specifically in my home, sometimes my children would sleep in different areas or not sleep in their normal bed, again, because they're home, make a tent or whatever. And so it's very important to me as a parent and as a firefighter to make sure that I know where my children are at night, but also that we have a plan in the event of a fire and our normal means of egress or escape are not available to us. So the Edith drill is something where a family would get together, sit down at the dinner table, maybe after a meal, and just discuss what possible fires could happen, and in the event of that type of fire, how am I going to escape? And then let's throw some scenarios into it. If the front door is blocked, how can we get out of the back? If the back door is blocked, do I have a way upstairs and out of the window? Do I have a ladder? Do I have a fire escape? Do I have a portable ladder that I can roll out of the window? How are we getting out of there? And then very important that we have a place to meet up to make sure that everyone is accounted for. Maybe mommy and daddy went out of a window and baby sister and the dog went out of the front door. But I want to make sure that everyone got out, because when the fire department gets there, the first thing they're going to ask is, if they haven't asked already at the dispatch, is anyone still in the home? So we want to make sure we account for everyone. So maybe we meet up at the tree right outside, or we meet at the family car in the driveway, or we run down the block to the neighbor's house. But we definitely should have a meeting place that we can account for the presence of everyone. And then again, even before we get to that point, and that Edith drill is going to be very important, but as important as that, and again, firefighter Dakari Maynard already talked about it, working smoke detectors in your home. We've gone through countless fires. We've gone through fire fatalities. And the first thing we look up and check for is whether or not that family had a smoke detector. And having a smoke detector is great. And I've gone to people's houses and they have a smoke detector. Is it working? Does it have batteries? Right? You hear that thing chirping in the background, in and out. That means change the batteries. That doesn't mean leave it and forget about it until it becomes background noise. Change the batteries or change the unit. Every 5 years for the older models, but definitely, as firefighter Dakari said, every 10 years, we want to change that smoke detector. We have a high civilian fire fatality rate in the city, and that is directly correlated to people not having a working smoke detector. A piece of equipment that costs $10, $20 at most, but it can save a lot of lives. So we're really pushing that. We think that's going to be really important. Yes.
In the past, Chief, we had a grant that allowed the city to give out smoke detectors.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, some people might say, well, the fire department hasn't given me a smoke detector. Smoke detectors run about how much right now?
Well, there are two types, and we'll encourage you to buy one over the other. Not a commercial, but there are different types, and we want to make sure that we give our citizens and our customers the best advantage that they have at life safety. But you can buy either an ionization, which can run you anywhere from about $15 to $20, or something called a photoelectric unit that can run maybe a little bit more, maybe $25 to $30 a unit. The difference is going to be with the ionization, though a little cheaper, it is going to need a flaming fire front in order to really activate and give you that notification. With the photoelectric type, because of the system and the way that unit works, it doesn't need a flaming fire, but smoke is enough to generate a notification. What we understand about fire is that in most cases, it's not the flame that is going to kill the occupant. It's going to be the carbon monoxide that's going to disorient the occupant. And though you may have a plan to get out, now you've absorbed or taken in an amount of carbon monoxide, you become disoriented. And I don't know whether that's the front door or the back door. I don't know if that's the stairs or the window. And the next thing I pass out. So the point that we're making is that the smoke is going to be a lot more deadly than fire. So the photoelectric, you want that early notification that the photoelectric will allow us to have.
I mean, and that's a reasonable price. Oftentimes we will spend more on McDonald's, Burger King, Chinese food, or, pizza.
Sure.
But going out, you can get those from, hardware stores. You can get them from places on the avenue. You can get them from a lot of different places, Home Depot, Lowe's. So everyone should definitely have a smoke detector in the house, a working smoke detector. Sunday, November 1st is Fall Forward. So as firefighter Maynard said earlier, it's, those are the times that you want to kind of just remind yourself to change your batteries in your smoke detector. So, November 1st, when it's time to push your clocks ahead an hour, that can be a perfect time for you to change it. And like you said, the chirps. You know, when the smoke detector is going bad or the battery is going bad, oftentimes you hear that bleep, that chirp, just like you said. And a lot of people get annoyed by the chirp at first, like, that thing is chirping. But that means change your battery. It's supposed to be annoying.
Right.
And when we don't change it, like you said, it becomes background noise.
Correct.
And we get to a place in our homes where you don't hear it. But if you're on the phone with someone, they'll hear it.
Yes,
if someone comes over the house, they'll hear it. So we have to be careful about allowing the chirping from a smoke detector whose battery needs to be changed go from annoying us to being background noise. It just takes a moment to go out and get some batteries to replace it. Keep extra batteries in your home for things of that nature, because it can mean the difference between life and death. And as you said earlier, also with Edith, I just want to go back to that, and that's exit drills in the home. Many of us, all of us, when we went to school, were raised in school having to do drills, and we did the drills in school. You know, if you have certain jobs, I ran the Y, so because of our childcare license, we had to do fire drills every month, and because of our membership license. And so the same thing, which ways are we going to go? Which ways are we going to get out of the building? Where are we going to meet up? How are we going to grab emergency information? Are we keeping emergency information in all one place so that not? So people talk about go bags oftentimes when they're talking about a hurricane or a storm, but a go bag is a go bag. It's a bag where you put all of your information in, important information, copies of important information, and documents like birth certificates, social security cards, copies of credit cards, and, you know, even if it's a photocopy, you just keep it in one place. So if there's a fire, if there's a storm, if there's any type of natural disaster, that you grab that and go, because too many people run back into the house to save objects. You know, they're not always running back in the house to save lives. Sometimes they're running back in the house to get information or to save objects. So you want to make sure that you keep your most important information all in one place so that you can grab that on your way out. And if you cannot get it on your way out, it's never worth your life.
No, let it go. It's Mayor, and you bring, oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Sorry, I just wanted to say again, Madam Mayor, that was a very good point you brought up about the smoke detectors, because to me, you can't talk about them enough. In 2019, the fire department teamed up with the Red Cross called Sound the Alarm Program. And we installed over 800 smoke detectors in the residents this year. So that let us know there were a lot of residents that had no smoke detectors. And the year prior to that, we had 58 fires with a fatality. So smoke detectors, I mean, you can't talk about it enough, in my opinion. And we did try to submit for a grant. We did not get that. And I think in light of COVID now, there's probably funding for other things. But we can't reiterate enough to get out there and get your smoke detectors, because it does save lives, that early warning.
And can I just chime in? It's not only just getting your smoke detectors, but paying attention. You know, a lot of times we get calls for people who set off their smoke detectors because they had food on the stove or from the shower and stuff like that. But it's still important that if you hear a smoke detector going off or a carbon monoxide, maybe not necessarily in your home, but maybe in a neighbor's home, maybe somebody in an apartment next to you or the house across the street, to call, because it's better for us to come out and check and make sure that there is no fire than to not say anything and then wind up seeing flames. It's stuff like that that is the difference between life and death. And just a simple phone call to 911 to say, hey, I hear a fire alarm going off somewhere, you know, at my neighbor's house. And I'll dispatch someone out to come out and check. And it's better for us to come out and check and it to be someone cooking on the stove than for it to be a fire going up in the walls.
That's exactly right. Chief, you can unmute yourself. It wasn't you. Someone has a lot of background noise going on.
Is that Danny? Could that be Danny? No, right?
I think it's Danny.
We're not supposed to be able to hear Danny. Okay. Well, thank you, Danny.
Well, And just to build off your point, Madam Mayor, it's all about building community resilience. These types of actions. You talk about the cost factor, and correct. The cost benefit can't even be really, or it can be overstated. We had a fire fatality back in, I believe, 2016, and a mother and a 17-month-old child lost their lives, and it was directly tied, or we believe. I mean, we never know, truthfully, what the outcome could have been, but we know that they were not. The family did not have working smoke detectors. They did not have a secondary means of egress out of their home, and the mother and the young child perished. And again, this is in an industrialized country. In a civilized city like ours, we should not be losing people due to fire, and it's just not something that should be happening. So really important. The other point, when we talk about a cost benefit, and another initiative that I know that the city is talking about is talking about our citizens and renters insurance and how important it is to purchase that in the event of a fire, especially in a multiple dwelling or multiple residential dwelling, where you don't control what's happening in your neighbor's apartment or underneath you or above you. Having renters insurance can make the difference in again being resilient and having a good outcome in the event of an emergency, not just a fire. So another campaign that's being launched throughout the city, and we'll be getting information out to the community about that.
So one of the things that, we're talking about fire prevention, and we've been talking about it a lot in the home, but with COVID-19 happening, one of the things that we've been dealing with over the past few months are a lot of illegal parties. Whether they are in car shops and auto repair shops, whether they're in hairdressers and barber shops, whether they're in stores that have basements, or they're in people's backyards. A lot of people are having parties and there's not proper egress. We've had to shut down a few businesses lately that were having parties in their basements. And everyone, I really need you to pay attention to this for a second. If you go to a party and you have to go through a back door to get into the building, if the front gate of the building is pulled down, if there is no exit in the basement of that club, and the only way to get out is a staircase to run upstairs, you can't even get out the front door because the fire gate is pulled down. There's no way for you to get out. And so years ago, I know in New York City, there was something called like the Happy Land Club. They had a big fire and a lot of people died. I know people are frustrated. I know people are tired of quarantine. I know that they want to party. They want to enjoy themselves. But when you walk into a place and you can't see proper exits and you can't see a proper way to get out, when a place is overcrowded, that right there just sets up opportunities for fires. We had to shut down a club, I believe it was on Friday, Chief, because they had illegal connections on their stove. And all of those things are fire hazards. So you might walk into a club and it might look nice on the front end, or you might walk into a place, car repair shops are not for parties, y'all. They're to get your cars fixed. Beauty salons and barbershops are not for parties. They are to get your hair, your do-whipped. And so people think they're being slick, but oftentimes you are putting yourself, your life at risk, because these places are not designed for the uses that people are trying to use them for. And if a fire or anything like that happens, I mean, people are smoking hookah and everything else. If a fire happens and you can't get out, we don't want to be on the news. We don't want to be grieving members of our family and in our community because they were so desperate to go to a party. And, COVID right now, with numbers starting to spike again across the country, this is something that we're going to see for a while. We also know that people have lost some of their income. So they're going back to the old basement parties to raise money for rent and mortgage and other bills. Again, Mount Vernon, I need you to be careful. I need you to use your common sense. And we always say common sense ain't common, but I need you to use it and make sure if you're doing anything and you're going any place for a secret party, If it's secret, most likely it means it's in a place that is not legal to hold that type of event, and it's putting you at risk for any type of fire safety or any type of trampling event. The fire department has to go in and certify the occupancy numbers for all of these places, and oftentimes they're over occupancy and don't have proper exits.
Well, Mayor, to your point, I would just add, I asked the citizens of Mount Vernon just to, study history. That's what we do. That's the best proof of outcomes. Look at Happy Land. Look what happened there. Look at the Station Club out in Long Island. What happened there? And to your point, trampling events would be, that hopefully that would be the outcome. But being burned to death because you couldn't get out, as what happened to many people in Happy Land, or the same thing in the Station nightclub out in Long Island. And this was just due to bad planning. Lack of egress, too many people are over occupied, and this is without a COVID environment. So we ask our people just think and use it, as the mayor said, a little common sense. The other thing is that we have the city of Mount Vernon is utilizing the state local authority to come in and inspect and make recommendations on these nightclubs. And it's one thing, even for what we call a legal nightclub, there are parameters that you have to still work in, on top of the New York Forward protocols that are also being enforced due to the executive orders. So, this approach of hopefully education first, but then if not, then enforcement. But we have a responsibility as the public servants of the community here to keep this city safe and to make sure that we keep our COVID numbers, and not just our COVID numbers, our deaths, regardless of COVID, keep those numbers down. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we do that.
And well, you said education first and enforcement second. And one of the things that Governor Cuomo said the other day is that enforcement is education. And yes, so that's where we are now. We've been asking people for a while to really change these habits. People think they're getting over, or, they're not going to catch me. It's not about us catching you. It's about the fact that nature can catch you, a fire can catch you, a trampling event can catch you. And so it's not about, getting over. It's about us trying to help keep people safe from COVID, from trampling incidents, from fire incidents, and people have to just take it a little bit more seriously. So I know you said you were going to do some pop-up events with the school district, with the recreation department, with the youth bureau, to get information out. Can you speak about that a little bit more?
Sure. So two things actually we're looking to do. So the other initiative I didn't get a chance to really get into was the Close the Door campaign that we're working hard to get out. And this campaign came out of a death. This has been an ongoing campaign in the city, but we wanted to deal with it specifically after a death in 2017, December of 2017, out in the Bronx, the Belmont section of the Bronx, where a young man, kitchen fire. So we go right back to that original point. A young man, 3 years old, was playing with the stove, playing with the oven. Stove ended up starting a fire. His mom runs into the kitchen. There's a flame front in the kitchen. They run out of the apartment. They leave the apartment door open. Subsequently, that fire flashes out of that front door into the common hallway, into the common stairs. And 12, moments later, or some point later, you have 12 people dead from a fire that spread out of one apartment. So one thing that we think is really important in the event that you have a fire, again, the fact that we know that people are going to be home more, and then we look that as we're pivoting towards the winter months, again, people are home. We're going to ask people to keep their doors closed, even when you're home. And we have video, and part of our fire prevention discussions will be showing someone just how much protection can be had even from a hollow core door, which is in 90% of the homes that we visit now. Just keeping that door closed, even when you go to sleep in your bedroom, push your door closed. In the event of a fire in your home or your apartment, that closed door may be your protection from that fire, or buy you some time from the smoke and the fire until the fire department can get there and get you out. So you will see the fire department throughout the month and probably throughout the rest of the year in your apartment building. If you're in a 3-family building or more, we will be out there handing out our Close the Door And actually, I may be able to show it here. Close the door. There we go. Flyer that we'll have out. We'll be meeting with building owners, building managers, and getting their permission to put this recommendation up in the elevators and the common hallways. Just reminding people to keep their doors closed. If they're exiting their apartment, close that apartment door, specifically if it's the fire department, because you're going to buy us time, the fire department, you're going to buy your neighbors time, and you may buy you may buy that entire building sometime in terms of preserving life and property in there. So that's going to be really important. We will be explaining all of this in our education pop-ups that we're looking to partner with the Board of Ed. There's some breakfast programs that are being run throughout the city, even though they are still handling a modified learning platform. But we will be able to meet the parents and hopefully students in the morning as they pick up breakfast meals and distribute fire prevention paraphernalia, have these types of discussions, remind them of how important it is to close their door and have an Edith plan and do the right thing in the kitchen. We'll also be partnering with the rec department and the youth department as dispatcher Burgess talked about, and we will be either setting up pop-ups or stations with their food distributions and or their movie nights, or as they have programs throughout the rest of the month. Two audiences that we're really specific, or that we really want to make sure that we talk to, are the young people, the children, and then our seniors. Mount Vernon and Westchester County has a large number of seniors, and we want to make sure that they also get that information. They're a very important part of our citizenship, and we want to make sure that they have also the best opportunity to be safe.
So I have a few questions just on the conversation. We're going to go to our Facebook questions in just a quick moment. But insofar as our seniors, what are the top 3 things that you feel our seniors should know? I know you're going to launch a senior education campaign, but what are the top 3 things that our seniors need to know?
Well, the first thing is, and something that we want to make sure that they talk about, especially in this COVID environment, is senior abuse, elder abuse. We do have an Office of the Aging. We've talked to and discussed ideas with Ms. Myers, but we definitely want to make sure with COVID, we've been extra sensitive about making contact with our seniors, and we want to make sure that we have the highest level of protection and the best opportunity to do that. But senior abuse, and then being healthy with this COVID environment, making sure that they have all of the equipment and or the information they need to be healthy during this time until we as a nation can figure our way forward. And then knowing those exit drills and those safety requirements in the home. Many of our elders live alone. They hear a smoke alarm and they're panicked and they may not know how to react. We want to give them the information so that they're able to make an informed decision, whether it's that phone call to our dispatcher Burgess, a notification to our fire prevention office, and or a full suppression call. But we want them to have that best opportunity, so we want to give them that information. And so we're looking at ways to connect with them again that is safe and but also effective in giving that information to them.
Perfect. So we have a few questions here. It says fire blankets have been advertised. Are they effective? Are they any good?
I'm not sure about that. I would want to see the data on that. I've heard, fire retardant blankets and clothing. We believe that. My concern, though, is not necessarily the fire. In many instances, the deaths that we've seen, and again, we've had a high rate in this community. They've been smoke inhalation. They've been carbon monoxide. So, though I would want to see the data, and I would encourage anyone to purchase anything that's going to keep them safe. As I would encourage a fire blanket, I would also encourage a carbon monoxide detector. Good smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector.
So Terry Ann Lee wants to know if she can get her fire extinguisher recharged. How do you get your fire extinguisher recharged?
All right. So the fire department, there are businesses that are able to do it. We go through a third-party vendor that does ours for us. We can, if you come to 470 East Lincoln Avenue, there may be a vendor that we can align you with. I won't put that out here. And then if not, depending on the size of it, it may be more cost effective to just buy a new unit. But we can just have that discussion. But if you're not sure, buy a new unit if you need something immediately.
Another question is, does the fire department inspect schools?
So the fire department partners with Board of Ed, the state Board of Ed, and they have an inspection. We had an inspector that did the inspections, but that is usually a third party. They may give us that information, but it's not something that we do directly.
Okay.
I don't know if the commissioner wants to add to that, though. No. Okay.
That's correct. It's usually the school system third party or will go along, but it's not something that we are tasked to do.
Okay.
May I add something?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
May I add something?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Like the chief said and the commissioner said that we are not assigned to inspection, but the neighborhood, the community may see us out there doing AFID, and we're familiarizing ourselves with our first response area. So you may see us in the school looking at standpipe connections, sprinkler, and or connections outside the building. It just is the fire extinguishers at a decent height. Your exit plans in the building. So we are out there becoming familiar with our buildings, our homes, for your safety in the community.
Excellent point, Firefighter Maynard.
So what is AFIG? Because we oftentimes speak in acronyms, and so we want the community. You have to unmute yourself, Firefighter Maynard. Can you explain to the people what AFIG is?
That is our area field inspection duty. But Firefighter Maynard can go into depth about that.
Well, you broke it down to me. I was trying to get off my off mute. So what it does, what AFID is, and is instructed by Chief Odendo, that every day, every group, every firehouse, Mount Vernon has 4 firehouses in Mount Vernon, that we get out. 1, so the community can see us out. 2, checking on residents. If you're living in a 2-story or 3-family home, are there bars on their window? Do you have working smoke alarms or carbon monoxide detectors? Is your means of egress blocked by anything? So we walk around random places, more so, like I said, in our first responding due areas, so we could just be familiarized with these areas. If we find something, we're calling dispatch, so then they could note in their log, in their system, that if this address pops up, we did an AFID there last week, and the back door had rubbish there. So now we know if there's a fire there, to look out for that. Like, did they clean this? Next week, we may go back to that same location and see if they cleaned it. It's for our safety. It's for the community safety. And we just want you to know that we're out there doing for the community.
And if I may jump in, thank you, Firefighter ma'am. That's part of, again, thank you to you, your initiative of the quality of life that under your leadership, since you came in, you made that a big priority, and so are we. So as the fire department's out there doing their AFID, they're definitely making note if there's apartment buildings, that the fire lanes are blocked, or abandoned vehicles. All of these things are part of quality of life, as well as safety for us to respond. And again, this is what we're doing and making note of it. And then the fire department may then send the information, whether that belongs to the buildings department or Department of Public Works. We're all sharing the information. The Public Works is also sharing information with us. Again, the main focus is safety, familiarizing, and improving the quality of life.
And so I think that's important as we talk about quality of life. You know, there are some people who have been critical in saying, oh, you're just trying to find different ways to give people tickets and to raise money for the city. That's not what it is at all. If you know, yes, your house is your house and it's your property, But if you're fixing cars in your neighborhood and you have 4 or 5 abandoned cars on your property, that can become a public safety issue, especially if we have to respond to a fire or some type of police or safety incident there. I mean, if you are cutting down trees or bushes in your backyard and you have a lot of old branches that are just bundled there, they're dried out. That's just waiting for a fire to happen. A few months ago, we had to deal a lot with fireworks, and we were going through a very dry season, and we saw over in Yonkers that a whole house went on fire, really because of fireworks that landed in someone's backyard. So there are so many things that we're asking people to be really mindful of. Like you said, keeping garbage lanes clear, keeping egress lanes clear, and not having a lot of garbage built up in there. You know, your backyard, your side driveway is not the place to put all of the clutter from your house until you figure out what to do with it. We, you know, A, you want to keep the neighborhood looking good, but B, you want to keep the property safe. And because those things are just important. So we're not looking to raise money. We're not looking to give people tickets, but we are looking to make sure that the quality of life issues in our community are definitely being addressed. We're not looking to shut down parties, but we don't want to see COVID. We don't want to see trampling incidents, and we don't want to see people being caught in basements or in places where, you know, it's not a club because we've decided to set up a club so that we could party or so that we could raise money to cover bills, rent, or a vacation. It's just never, ever worth your life.
And we don't want to see firefighters trapped in there, because it's going to be us or EMS if there's a fire that's going to have to go in there and get you out. And then, you know, you're out and then we're trapped. So just do us all a favor. Let's do the right thing.
And Charles Blanks, yes, there's a question there from Charles Blanks. Mount Vernon, we're an older community. We have a very old housing stock. We have a lot of people have not upgraded the wiring and the electrical loads in their house. So just because you go out and you buy a, what do you call those? One of those power plugs with another 6 plugs on it. Well, they're not always a surge protector. Some of them are just extra plugs. And they don't even have a surge protector on them. And people, you know, you have from your computers to charging your iPhones and your iPads and things like that. Everyone is trying to find more ways to load up and charge up. But the challenge with that is it overloads different people's electrical in their home, which can start fires. And again, we also have a lot of people who are doubling up. We have a lot of homes in Mount Vernon that have been changed and turned into illegal rooming houses. We understand that people are financially strapped, but if you are living in a 2 or 3 family home and there are 25 people living in there and there are a lot of different rooms, we've seen a lot of fires in locations like that. So you have to be careful. We are working with the state. We are working to build up our capacity to go after a lot of these slumlords and a lot of these illegal rooming houses, because they are a hazard to the public safety and the public health of our residents. We understand that, you know, it's cheap to pay $500, $600, $700 a month. It might be cheaper to pay that for a room, but again, it's not worth your life. And, you know, those are some of the first fires that I remember responding to this year as I became mayor. A lot of them were illegal rooming houses. And we also know the landlords who specialize in illegal rooming houses. So we'll be coming to see you guys. I won't call them out here, but we know who you are.
Oh, that's a great point, though, too. Many of the fires, and we're going into this heating season, and this is where we see an uptick of fires, and firefighter Dakari and dispatcher Burgess can attest to that. But we, again, specifically this year, again, everything that we do, we always want to have that COVID sort of vigilance behind it. People are out of work, and people may not have the money to get their boiler service. And so they're going to maybe go this year without getting their jets cleaned or get their filter cleaned. And what is that going to mean in terms of a fire if there's one in their basement? And again, we think about this whole idea of community risk reduction. that chain of events, right, puts that neighbor in jeopardy, the people that live in that home, and then the responders that are going to respond to that incident, all in jeopardy, and their families, right? But if we can nip that in that chain of events in the bud early, through education or some sort of service, maybe we won't have that impact to our community. And then we also talk about the home heating cords. We have those portable heaters that people are going to be using. Again, people are going to be home. Landlords may or may not be doing the right thing with the heating plant in that property. So now people are going to circumvent that and maybe be plugging in. As the mayor talked about, we already have overloaded circuits in the home with underwired environment with over circuitry. And then we go and then to extend either the length or the distance of that heating unit, we plug it into an extension cord. But we know, or we should know, and part of this education that we'll be doing this month is talking specifically about the brown dollar store extension cords that are deadly in our community. We've gone to enough fires and seen that these things have caused a lot of damage. As a rule of thumb, and I'm not an electrician, but we want to get at least the same gauge wire that heating unit is. So if I'm looking at a heater and the plug is a certain diameter, the extension cord, if I have to use it, we should not be using an extension cord, but if I have to, that extension cord should be at least as thick as the wire that's coming out of that heating unit. But ideally, you want an electrician or someone that understands electricity to make that decision for you. But those are another source of death and destruction in our city, portable heating, specifically in the environment where we have these old homes wired improperly.
So I want to say thank you so much. Yes, we have about 2 minutes left.
Oh, I'm sorry, I ran my mouth.
Oh no.
I was going to touch base on what Chief was talking about real quick. As per the stove tops and cooking, your space heaters is also a 3 feet radius of anything combustible. Bed sheets. We get real cold and we throw it on. We want to snug up right next to it. Remember, these are room space heaters. So be patient. Your room will eventually warm up. You do not have to snuggle up against it, because what happens, you twist and turn and you throw your sheets off in the middle of the night and it lands on these things. A lot of them do have emergency cutoffs, but like you said, we're using some type of old space heaters, and just give your rooms time to let it work. It will work. And we urge you not to use your stoves to heat up your homes, because what that do is releases the poisonous gases of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer. It has no taste. It has no scent. You will, like Chief said, a couple of inhales or of this gas could leave you discombobulated. So if you try to get out and walk, your brain's not thinking properly because it's attacked your brain. The poisonous gases has attacked your thinking system. So with that, I want to say thank you to all the kids. I miss you because I'm usually in the schools at this time. Sharing fire prevention. We want all the kids to remember to don't hide, go outside.
Yes.
And when you get out, you stay out.
Oh, that video can be out soon, right? That video is coming out, right?
And the video is coming.
Great. Okay.
It should be edited. I made a special video. It was requested by a daycare center here in Mount Vernon. And we're going to do our best to send that out to the masses. Okay. So thank you again, guys, for having me on. I love you, and Mount Vernon strong.
So we're going to wrap up, because if we don't wrap up, we can't put this on Instagram easily. We have like 30 seconds. So I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Norman, Chief Odendo, Firefighter Maynard, and Dispatcher Burgess for the information that you're sharing. Mount Vernon, please remember it's Fire Prevention Month in Mount Vernon. We're going for a month. Please stay 3 feet away from stoves. Have the kids stay away from them. Don't leave them in the kitchen to play. Be careful with your space heaters. Be careful running extension cords. And once you get out, stay out. And please keep the doors inside your apartment closed. And if you're running out from fire, close the door behind you for the Close the Door campaign. And speak to your family about how to get out of your house in case of a fire. Have your own exit drill. Everyone, thank you so much. Take care. Have a good night. And fire department, thank you for always keeping me fly in my fire gear. I appreciate it. We have Breast Cancer Month. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
Danny, we're out.